Green Cooling scores with the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show.
Yes, very good evening and welcome along to this 33rd episode of the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show. Alongside me, as always, is Mr. Dave Parkinson.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Great to be here. I wonder what this next hour will see us talk about. Probably some rugby league. There might be the occasional giggle. There usually is. We've got a script, but whether we stick to it is a completely different topic. But we have got plenty to get through, even though we only had one National Conference League game over the bank holiday. So we'll look back over Heworth's bank holiday win away at Wigan St Patricks. We'll look at the BARLA National Cup, which took place at the weekend. We've got a round up from the quarter-final stage. We'll have a run-through of the NCL tables, look at the running talking points, promotion, relegation battles. It's all heating up as the time ticks down on the regular season. And of course, as our usual, full preview of this weekend's fixtures. But first, let's have a read all about our featured game. So, as we mentioned, just the one game happening. Division 1, Wigan St Patricks, Clarendon Park was the venue, and Heworth extended their winning streak to 6 matches and kept the pressure on Division 1 leaders Wigan St Jude's with a hard-fought 22-14 victory away at Wigan St Patricks on Saturday's rescheduled clash. The game, originally postponed in July due to an unfit pitch at Clarendon Park, saw the York side strike first with early tries from Harrison Briggs and Fraser West, both of which came inside the opening 16 minutes. Finley Tate converted the first to give the Villagers a 10-0 advantage, and it looked like they were going to repeat their 38-0 home win over Pats earlier in the season. However, the hosts fought back and came well into the contest. Connor Webb powered in just after the half-hour mark to get Pats on the board, and moments after the restart, Jonah Taylor crossed to level the scores, with Brad Smith adding the conversion. With the game in the balance, Heworth then showed their quality and resilience. Entering the final quarter, they restored their lead through Ellis Sotherington before West grabbed his second try of the afternoon, a real captain's knot for Fraser. Tate added a conversion to push the Villagers 20 points to 10 ahead. Pats weren't done though, and kept the contest alive when Danny Riding nipped over with 8 minutes remaining. Wonder if that came from dummy half. It cut the gap to just 6 points, but Heworth's composure told once more as Tate landed a late penalty to seal the 22-14 victory and complete the league double over their Wigan rivals. That result leaves Heworth just a point behind leaders Wigan St Jude's in the race to top spot, while Wigan St Patricks remain in 6th, clinging on to the final playoff berth ahead of Oldham St Helens, only on point difference. Sounded like a fascinating game, that did, to be honest, Steve, didn't it?
Yeah, and I was just saying there right at the end, Parker, I mean, we've gone about St Jude's, sort of really being, sort of real standouts. I think they've won 15 of 18 games, lost 2 and drawn 1. And they've been the, sort of more or less top dogs, thereabouts. Them and Ince Rosebridge sort of vying for position. We've been on about Heworth, have come through and suddenly put their head above, and now, obviously with that game in hand that they had, has now put them just at 1 point off that top shop. So that's going to be interesting. That way it means Wigan St Jude's have got no room for slipping up, have they?
No, they haven't. No. I think if they manage to get another win under the belt, that will ensure promotion.
Yeah,
it's the top 2. But if they're after that championship, they're going to have to go a bit gung-ho, aren't they, over the next 4 weeks?
Yeah, it's going to be good.
It's tremendous.
Yeah.
The finish that we've got coming up in Division 1 in particular. Absolutely fascinating. I can't wait to see how it all concludes, to be honest. It's been a roller coaster ride, hasn't it, that Division 1?
Yeah, and as you're saying, you look at that top 6 as a whole. I mean, even just outside of that 6th place, again, it's amazing what a win can do for you. It can, a win or a loss, can do. It can move you up there in amongst it, and just a loss can suddenly you're out of it. And
I mean, you look at it, and like we were saying, point difference is what separates Wigan St Patricks and Oldham St Helens. At the moment, that resoundingly favours the Wigan side. They're plus 60 points. Oldham St Helens plus 8. However, again, with the fixtures that remain and looking at what could happen, you're right, a loss there, and that opens the doors, doesn't it, for Oldham St Helens or Egremont.
I was just going to say that.
Out of it. They're on 16 points.
And it's funny, we've been, well, certainly I've been down on Egremont this season because they've not been the usual what we expect.
Don't be down on Egremont. It's a great place. It's a great
it is. It's
a great club.
It's absolutely superb, but then certainly this is not a season that's... It's like them because
you know what though. I mean, there's been a lot of changes. There has been a lot of changes behind the scenes at Egremont. They've got a lot of players that have come into the team. They've had some players that weren't available for most of last season as well. So for me, I think they're just where I would be expecting them to be. I would be expecting them to be still competing for a top 6 spot, but I didn't think that we'd get anything like a promotion push from them. Having said that, I didn't think we'd get the season that we have out of Shawcross. I didn't think Wigan St Jude's would be right up at the top with this. I mean, I thought they would be very, very competitive. I believe that in what we'd seen over the last couple of years and what Dave Myerscough has been building, and sort of the spirit of the place when we've been down there. It's felt like a club that's together and he's on the same page and it's going places. But even they've surprised me with how consistent they have been in Division 1 this season.
Certainly have. So that was the game that was played at the weekend. From the NCL point of view, there was a matter of the BARLA National Cup, and it was the quarter-finals. And in the Open Age National Cup quarter-finals, 4 teams boot their place into the last 4. Brighouse Rangers came through with a strong 24 points to 10 victory over Kippax Welfare, while Laurel St James overcame Wathbrow Hornets in a high-scoring clash that finished 34-24. Elsewhere, Hatfield Crusaders proved too strong for King's Cross Park, running out 38 points to 12 winners. And in a tight contest, Charleston Rovers edged past Woolston Rovers, sealing a 14 points to 6 win. So the BARLA Open Age National Cup reaches the semi-finals, and that's going to be held, or the games will be held on Saturday the 18th of October. And the games will be Thatchworth Crusaders. They will go head-to-head with Oddle St James, which I think, if I'm not wrong, that's a repeat of last year's final.
You're right.
So, that should be...
that'll be worthwhile turning up for, won't it?
Certainly will. And on the other side, it's Charleston Rovers, and they will take on Brighouse Rangers. Both ties kick off at 2 o'clock, with places in the National Cup final on the line.
Yeah, I believe that the National Cup final is going to be played a couple of weeks afterwards, but I haven't been able to track that down as a definite. So as soon as we know when that final is scheduled for, we'll let you know on the show as well, because it's always a grand occasion, that, isn't it? We've been to a couple of these, and we've really enjoyed our time, and getting to speak to the people who are involved at BARLA, who are rightly proud of this competition. It's something that we speak of highly on this podcast, and it's got a lot of history, hasn't it? It's got so much history as the BARLA National Cup. I really want it to be a top blue ribboned day of an event. That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? But I'm wondering, was everything conducted as it should have been with this semi-final draw?
I know what we're talking. We're talking the old Challenge Cup sort of scenario, isn't
They've
it?
Kept when you get the Lancashire and the Yorkshire sides apart, or shall we say, a Merseyside team in Thatto. Can I say that?
Oh, I don't think Thatto would be pleased with you saying that.
Am I starting to upset you guys from St Helens? If I start mentioning that you're from Merseyside, because I mean, you've been telling me I'm from a bus stop in Wigan for months, Steve.
To be fair, you're from Manchester.
Just trying to put me down, You know what? I can accept being a Mancunian. I know that I can turn. I can turn on a Mancunian accent. There ain't no problem with me, mate.
I can see. It's a good job. What do you call it? Away at the moment. The Gallagher brothers.
Do you reckon I give him a run for the money?
Yeah. Oh, I tell you. They're going well after you. So that's the BARLA National Cup, and as Parky said, it's always a great. It's a pity it's not more heavily sort of subscribed. Is that the word?
What you mean with more entries?
Yeah.
Because usually they end up with like 20 plus entries, don't they? But when we pick up the old Open Rugby magazine and we see that there's
I love looking at
100 odd teams that used to go in it every season. I mean, it were a right proper comp, wasn't it?
Oh, it certainly was. And when you look at some of the names that went on, from not just the winners, but a lot of the ones that competed went on, players that went on to play professionally and play in what was then, really, really, sort of hard grafting rugby league in the sense of you were playing it in winter and it was What
are you suggesting? It's no longer a hard grafting sport, Steve?
I'm saying it. You get his sunshine. You tell him you've got to play in winter. What will happen? Mind you, it could be that...
you never know. Maybe if we ask players, they might think... think it's a good idea to play in the winter. I don't know. We are, about 30% down on representation, in playing numbers at open age level right across the country, and surely they're the biggest stakeholders of the game. You've got to ask the players what they think, and see what he said. It'd be really interesting to sort of find that out actually from a consensus. Generally, if players were given like 3 or 4 choices of when they might like to play the sport, what they would say.
I think the first thing is at least if the discussion was had between the players, and see what they think as the core sort of stakeholders of the game as a whole.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, by the way, if you're listening to this and you're involved with one of your teams, open age teams at your club, just mention it to him, because we'd be interested to find out, wouldn't we? What players are thinking about. Are they happy with the current way in which the season is structured? Are they happy with getting to play over the summer months and then missing half the games because there's festivals or holidays, stag do's, or would they prefer to play at a time of year when there is less of those things going on?
Yeah,
because
the thing is, it's one of those sort of questions where it needs to be discussed and not to rush into and sort of say, "Oh, I'm not playing in winter." Okay, fair enough if that's what you're saying.
Like Brexit. But at least, this could be a Brexit thing, couldn't it?
At least
we could end up with RFL flags everywhere.
At least have the sort of discussion and thought about it. As to is it something that could help the game, become stronger. Because if it helps to get more players back into the game, because they can come at when there's less things going on in their life.
Ultimately, I would love that. How much I love rugby league. There's not many people that have the sort of desire. Well, there's probably loads of people that have the desire and more of the desire than I've got to keep this great sport, going and hopefully growing and surging on into the next millennia, and that type of thing. And as I say, it would be great to sort of hear more of this and maybe have a proper discussion about it.
Yeah, because what you'll get straight away, I'm sure, without thinking, is those people saying, "Oh, we're just going backwards. We played winter rugby."
It's not necessarily going backwards.
That's what you'll get. 100% you'll get that. But I'm not saying it is, but that's what you'll get from a lot of people. But that's why I say, just sit, have a think about where the game is now with regards to where it sits from a calendar point of view, and by moving it back, or even splitting it to a certain degree, having a break here and there.
Yeah, do you then have the 6 weeks off the summer, or keep it in a similar type of thing, but extend the season by 6 weeks at the end because you're having 6 weeks off in the middle? Or is that too much of a gap for you? As a player out there, would you then find it difficult to almost think, "Oh, I've got to go back to rugby. Oh, it's going to be..."
Maybe, but I think the discussions need to be had between the players, because, as I said, they're the core stakeholders, and it's their sort of their game, and obviously it affects their livelihoods in the sense of they've got to go to work, they've got to go on holidays with families, because first and foremost, that they come first. So if there's some other way we can get round, sort of everybody sort of enjoying it, the game getting stronger. If we've got to put up with it being, a few more games in colder climates, and then again, people have to go on about
put up with it.
Well,
what do you mean put up with it?
Well, yeah,
rugby league's great in any conditions.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like you're talking pitches and different things like that. They're all things that have got to come into the argument.
We did speak to a few people at the start of the season, didn't we, about when they started the Challenge Cup. Now, if that was all part of a planned pre-season, and then the Challenge Cup came, and then your league games came, then you're prepared for it, aren't you? At the moment, the Challenge Cup comes in, it's 2 months before any of the league games are played, and then it's almost like you're doing a bit of preparation around Christmas, where again you're asking players to give up the time and make themselves available for training sessions and stuff, when that is prime family time, isn't it? And then you're then diving into a game in the Challenge Cup. If you get through that, you're probably going to play a semi-professional team in the next round, so you've got to be well prepared for that, because that is like meeting fire with fire, isn't it, to be honest. And then you've got about 6, 7, 8 weeks after that, and then the league season starts, but I think it'd be good to get a real conversation going, and
obviously if on the back of that, if we could get some sort of, I don't know, sort of a poll from the clubs, if you can poll your players in any way, shape or form, sort of get that drive on as to what your players want, because how many times do things get done without the players getting a say in anything? You know what I mean? We talk about they're the main guys who are doing things on the pitch. They're the lifeblood of the sport at the end of the day.
Case in point, as we're recording this Wednesday evening, there's been a big announcement from the RFL today saying that next season there will be a change in Championship and League One, in the fact that the two competitions will come together. Now, with just a couple of weeks' notice, it means that what clubs have been playing for all season in League One has just been kiboshed.
Yeah.
So they were going to be playing for like a sort of middle eights structure. So the bottom 4 teams in the Championship were going to play against the top 4 teams in League One. And they've now decided, 2 weeks ahead of when this was all going to be announced and everything sorted, 2 games left before the end of the season, that they're not actually going to have these additional games. Now, we're talking about, and I just want to throw this into the mix. I know it's not strictly community.
But I understand what you're saying.
What we're talking about. And I wonder how many players they actually asked about before making this decision. Is it a good one? You've got a competition in League One who have been surviving, and I'm going to say that, and I choose my words carefully there, but they've been surviving on 9 home games.
Yeah.
You can't have a semi-professional league running with teams surviving on 9 home games. I actually applaud them bringing the comp together, so I'm not complaining about that at all, because this should mean that out of, if you've got 20 odd clubs in a league, or however they decide to constitute it, then hopefully you're going to get, and I think you need about 13, 14 home games to be able to base your season off.
Yeah, to sustain your club.
So suddenly you've got, at the start of the season, everybody knew they were playing for a top 4 spot, and those top 4 clubs are getting an extra 4 fixtures, 2 at home, 2 away. So if you're thinking about it, at the start of the year in that competition, you had Cornwall. So you had 10 home games, plus your 2 in the playoffs if you made it.
Yeah. So
you've got 12. And then if you got home ties in the Challenge Cup, then hopefully you'd have another couple of fixtures there. Throw in that, a couple of 1895 games, and there's another potential couple of home games there, and you're up to your 14, 15. But 9 games.
It's you can't.
9 games if you don't make that, and you got Drew away in the Challenge Cup.
But again, this is the sort of thing that should be said, that we're going to do this at the beginning of the previous season. Then you give everybody the chance to do the things and get all your ducks in order. It's been the same for years for teams that have been promoted to Super League. I mean, they never have unlike Lee, who decided to put the money where the mouth was and sort of spend the big dollars on the big players.
And Wakefield did the same thing, didn't they? Because they saw the blueprint that Lee put in place and they thought, we'll do that.
But to be fair, it is a gamble, because there's a couple of clubs who have done it and it's not come off. But that's what you've got to do if you want to then try and sustain your place in Super League.
So I know that we went off at a tangent, but I'm going to wheel it back and say that, this has come through stakeholders, players as well, not being consulted as part of it, and this is where I think the community game can lead, and it can ask its players directly.
And I think I think this day and age, because of, one of the reasons on the back of why we do this show, or the way we're able to do this show, is that because the technology is there now to enable us to do this.
I thought it was just because you let me in your house on a Wednesday evening, to be honest.
It's to look after me cats.
You met me a brew and you said, don't move anywhere because your cat George loves sitting next to me.
Yeah. But as we were saying, the technology side of things that are available now, obviously, as we were saying, we can do this show. We do the commentaries occasionally on the games, bring that to you. Getting something out to your players, and asking them a question. You've only got to look now, who's not available for Saturday. There's a WhatsApp group and boom, everything. What would be the arm of the coach saying, right, I've got 4 options here, lads. I want your opinions on them. Have a think about them. And then we're going to do a bit of a poll for in a week's time to say, I want you to vote on it and tell us what you think. Then collate all those back. Let's have a look at what people think, and let's get a good broad spectrum of the country. You may find that in different parts of the country, totally different ideas as to what they think. It may be that everybody actually thinks the same thing, but they've not had that sort of
they've not had the chance to
exactly. So I think this day and age it's a lot easier to do, and you've only got to look at it on Twitter, how many people after the match, but who was your man of the match, was it X, Y or Z, vote this. It can be done. And I think let's get them involved. At the end of the day, it's their sport as well as and they're the ones putting the bodies on the line. Have a bit of respect for them.
It's a good discussion point, isn't it? And what do you think? So again, I'm asking you, our much loved listener.
Yeah.
What do you think?
He's gone making a brew.
Jeff, come back.
Yeah.
Come back. Fascinating discussion, and it would be remiss of us sometimes not to mention what's going on in the professional ranks as well, because I think indirectly that does have a bearing, doesn't it, potentially, of what's going on in our community game as well. Right, talking about what's going on, we have loads and loads of fixtures to bring you. Everybody's returning to action this weekend, and the games continue to tick down.
Do they ever?
So, Premier Division, Saturday, 30th of August. We have Hunslet, ARLFC, up against Dewsbury Moor Maroons. We've got Lee Miners Rangers hosting West Bowling. We've got Rochdale Mayfield up against Loch Lane. Loch Lane have to win. Siddle versus Thatto Heath Crusaders in what looks like the standout tie from the Premier Division. Waterhead against Wathbrow Hornets, which also looks like a fantastic tie. York Acorn could be dragged back into the relegation battle if they lose against West Hull, and Loch Lane are somehow able to come up with a victory. Several talking points. Let's start with Siddle. They lead by 3 points at the top of the league. They've been very, very consistent all season, haven't they? But they're up against the Thatto Heath side that has started to find a little bit of consistency themselves over recent weeks. They've now got 12 wins out of their 20 games. They're a side that can certainly score points. They've only scored 72 points less than Siddle in the league, although the defence has been a little bit more leakier, and this is somewhere where Siddle has really prided themselves this season, isn't it?
It is. I think I agree there, Parky. I think Tatooine are on a little bit of a roll at the moment. I mean, obviously we had some doubts about their away form because they were winning absolutely, at full tilt at home, and then they were going away, and you were looking, how's that happened? And they've started to pull that together. Again, I mean, obviously they were in action. I don't know what the squad was like for the game in the BARLA quarter-finals, but the bottom line is, I'm sure
they got a convincing victory, didn't they? Really, 38-12 is a good win by any stretch of the imagination, isn't it?
So they'll still be buoyed about being on this run of winning games. It'd be a very interesting one. I've got a feeling Siddle might edge you.
Are you thinking home form?
Yeah, I think that's the only thing. But again, same as I've said in the past, with some teams, that it wouldn't surprise me because of the way they're hitting back at the moment. That's sweet.
Westall with a victory over York Acorn would move within 2 points of Siddle as it stands at the moment. If they slip up. Do you fancy them to do the job and keep York Acorn embroiled in a relegation?
Yeah,
moil? Or I suppose you've also got to then look at Lot Lane against Rochdale Mayfield. I mean, Lot Lane have had let's be honest, an awful second half of the season.
I'll tell you,
it's been. I can't believe that. I've seen that, and I'm sure there's a lot of people connected with Lot Lane who can't believe it either with the way that they started. We say it every week. I'm almost expecting them to come out and do a great escape, but I've just got a feeling they've left it too late. They've only got 2 games remaining, and let's be honest, they lose against Rochdale Mayfield at the weekend. They're relegated. There's no more points. They can get 2 more points, but they'll finish behind York Acorn regardless. So that's a massive game, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's a massive game, and they can only hope to win that and hope that York Acorn lose, and then that takes it to the final weekend. But again, they've got to look at who they're playing, and that is a fascinating potential contest there. Lee Miners Rangers, they've found they're going tough all season. Blooded a lot of youngsters over the course of the year, which will probably see them be an outstanding side in the future. But they're probably a few seasons away from that coming together. I get the feeling it will come together for them. Let's be honest, they're one of the one of the sides that you kind of are one of the most well-known sides in Community Rugby League, aren't the Lee Miners Rangers? You think about them, you think about Wigan St Patricks, you think about Milford, you think about Millham. These are all teams that have been around for a considerable amount of time, teams that have been around in the National Conference League basically since day dot, and they're up against West Bowling, who at times this season have been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, they have, and obviously West Bowling are, to be fair, they're just waiting for Westall. If they manage to slip up, then West Bowling are more than ready to jump back to that, or put pressure on for that second spot.
And Waterhead ready to pounce if West Bowling slip up.
Exactly.
That's the other beauty, and they've got a point difference of plus 34 points on West Bowling as well. So, they're in really well placed for if they can get level with them on games won or even overtake them, aren't they? Which, as we mentioned, has been a fantastic effort from everyone concerned there, and they play a good brand of rugby. Great set of people involved there at Waterhead, and they've had a season to remember, haven't they? No matter what happens in these last 2 games and moving into the playoffs, because they are going to be in the playoffs. Yeah,
and they're full of confidence at the moment, aren't they? Because, they're in a win-win situation at the end of the day, aren't they? In the sense that they've come up and they've given themselves a mighty, mighty good showing. And, as you start to get to playoffs and you start to getting, just a couple of games to win to try and get to that final, that could be a teller. You know, they're not out of the sort of reckoning whatsoever.
We've also got a 2-game series over these next couple of weeks involving Hunslet and Rochdale Mayfield for who makes up the rest of that top 6, haven't we? Hunslet have been like a bullet this second half of the season. They have been fantastic. And I know our little note on the talking point says Hunslet need to win to stay in touch with the playoffs. They do. They're up against the Dewsbury Moor Maroon side that has been very competitive, but will unfortunately be in Division 1. Again, call me pessimistic here, but I can only see a Hunslet victory in that game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, no disrespect to Dewsbury Moor Maroons.
No, I don't mean any disrespect, because I think they're a fantastic club and they will be back.
And do you know what? It's a strange thing, and they took a lot of beatings early doors, but since they started, the scores started to get in sort of, you know, within touching distance, and then they started having those couple of wins, and they've probably played some absolutely great rugby coming towards this.
They have, they have. They played some cracking rugby over the last.
And that will stand them into good stead going into the, back to Division 1, because they were a strong team when they were in there before. Even stronger now. They've had this little taster up in the Premier Division.
Let's look at Division 1, shall we? So we have a Cumbrian derby to light the way. Egremont Rangers up against Kells. A real threatener for who gets in that top 6. Egremont Rangers can keep all that pressure on. Kells could have a late season run and charge to the playoffs still. They're not out of it, even though they're 4th bottom of the competition. They're on 14 points. Heworth are up against Crossfields. I think basically a loss there for Crossfields all but relegates them.
Yeah, and Heworth, they're the team in form at the moment, aren't they?
Fantastic. The way they've been playing over the last sort of 3-4 months has been superb.
And they'll want to keep the pressure up on Jude's there at the top. Crossfields, started to get a little bit of momentum, but I've just started to slip again. And if it was at home, I would still think Heworth would be the strong contenders there. With it being at Heworth, definitely, I think Heworth will come out on top.
Ince Bridge have had a good season, but they've had a couple of slip-ups which has seen them tumble from what we thought at one point was almost a shoe-in for a top 2 finish in this division, and they're now sitting in 3rd. They're still well clear of the 4th place team. However, they're up against this week Shawcross Sharks, who have been very competitive in their return to Division 1. That's a top game, isn't it?
It certainly is. I think Ince Bridge at home, again, have a good support, very good support. Shawcross Sharks are one of those sort of teams where when they do put it together, they can be a really devastating team. That one could go either way. I'm just leaning towards Ince Bridge because of the home advantage.
We're almost at that time of the season where we can start to, say, you give it a good try, lads, but there's some of you that's going to drop out of this division. And I get the feeling we're at that stage with Ulton Raiders. They're up against Oldham St Anne's this weekend. It's a home game for Ulton Raiders, so St Anne's won't find things all their own way. As we talked about before, they'll be hoping to keep that pressure on that top 6 chase as well, won't they? Which would be, if they can finish within the top 6, also as another promoted side, by the way, from Division 2 last season. That is a brilliant return.
Yeah, very much so, and obviously they want to keep hot on the tail of Wigan St Patricks, who are on the same points, but Pats have got just that better points difference. So bearing in mind that what Wigan St Patricks have got on their plate this week, that I'm sure St Anne's will want to try and heavily come away with a good result there.
Stanley have been pretty strong all season. They're up against Woolston Rovers, so Woolston's wretched season, I'm going to call it that, because when you look at the points against in particular, they've conceded a lot of points for Woolston. I know they've gone through the horrors this year of at times not having a lot of players to select from, and hopefully they've got players that are waiting in the wings to sort of come in over the next couple of years, and but I just get the feeling that they found the going too tough this season, and I can see them finding the going tough again at Stanley.
Yeah, I agree. Stanley will want to consolidate on their, I think, the fourth place at the moment on the 22 points. With Shawcross Sharks, they're just ahead on points difference. They'll want to consolidate that and stay in that fourth position, because Semi said they've had a really, really good season, I think.
And we started this little run through of the Division 1 fixtures with a derby. Let's finish it with a derby. It's being declared rivals round. So I know that I'm hearing this about Saints and Wigan as well.
Yeah.
So we're on about two Saints sides here, though, but both from Wigan. So we got Wigan St Pats up against Wigan St Jude. Doesn't get much bigger locally than those two up against each other, does it?
No, and it's not that much difference. Sort of. I think it's walking distance easily between these two clubs. But yeah, Wigan St Pats. It'll be one of those where they're just probably playing better now than they've played for most of the season. Even though it was a difficult, it was a loss against Heworth, but Heworth, a good side. Jude's have been massively informed, but with all of these derbies that we've seen between these three,
you can't really call them, can you?
No.
Well, any of the derbies really. As I say, I think Egremont and Kells is also one that you can't really call.
But on paper, for me, it should go to Jude's because they're the team who are in form at the moment. But again, Pats, I want to sort of lay down a marker here and say, look, if we can consolidate where we are at the moment, try and get that win, it keeps us in that sixth spot, I think it is at the moment.
Let's cross to Division 2, shall we? And we've got Barrow Island up against Normanton Knights. We've got Driglington at home to Clockface Miners. We've got Hull Dockers making the trip up to Ellenborough Rangers. That's a long journey for them, isn't it? Pilkington Rex at home against Dewsbury Celtic, which again looks like the blue ribbon fixture in this particular division. Skirler up against Hensingham. Thornhill Trojans hosting East Leeds. What are the talking points here, Steve?
Well, the talking points here, Parky, as we can say, we've got East Leeds. Obviously, they're chasing a perfect season, and they're away at Thornhill.
Only been done by Hunslet, that I believe, 2018 in the Premier Division.
Yeah, that would have been what? How many games? About 22, something like that.
Yeah. They were 22 undefeated as well, and then they won a couple of playoff games as well to win the grand final.
And that, to be honest, that's probably, no disrespect to East Leeds, but to do that in the Premier Division, that is, isn't it? It's absolutely stunning. As I say, East Leeds chasing that perfect season. They're away at Thornhill. Then you've got Pilks who up against Dewsbury Celtic, and it's second versus third. A huge, obviously, whoever's going to win that puts themselves into a strong automatic promotion. Because you've got just 1 point between them at the moment.
Yeah, I have to admit, I didn't realise it was that close, but then I was looking, and obviously Dewsbury's Celtic have played a game less than Pilks anyway, so they would have a game in hand, that they've still got to play. So that would be an intriguing one in itself. Obviously, that was a game that was the Impetigo one that got called off a few weeks ago against Barrow Island. Yeah. So still to be decided when that one's going to be played, by the way, as it stands. Then
you're looking at Clockface. They will be looking to cement that fourth place, and if they can win, and if Pilks do slip up, then it'd be... Then puts pressure on Pilks for
doesn't it? for
third, yeah. And finally, you've got Old Dockers or Ellenborough. Which one of them might finish at the bottom? You decide, as they say. Because we've got one on 6 points, one on 4 points.
Yeah, there is a bit of a 4-pointer, that one, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
To be fair, and both of those sides, well, the destined for the drop, aren't they? At the moment, mathematically, Hull Dockers can still win 8 points, and 8 points would be enough to keep them up as it stands. If Skirler or Thornhill don't pick any more points up, however, Rugby League's great by spreadsheet, isn't it? Put that on the pitch and it's a different story entirely. Right, Division 3, this is the closest division of the lot. To be honest, one of the most thrilling races for a title that I have seen in a long, long while in the National Conference League. We've got Beverley up against Bentley. We've got Lee East at home to Featherstone Lions. We've got Milford at home to Saddleworth Rangers. And we've got Millom at home to Dissington in a Cumbrian derby. And then this one, which is real lip-smacking. Myton Warriors up against Keighley Albion. You know what the point difference is in this one?
Go on, fire away.
So basically, Keighley Albion have a plus 104 point difference. Myton Warriors a plus 94 difference. So you're then talking of this could be a league. If Myton win, that gets decided on point difference, because you've got Saddleworth going over to Milford, and a win there for Saddleworth will give them the title.
Yeah, because this is the last game of the season.
It's the last game of the season. Yeah, that's it. You know, so there's no more. It's playoffs after this. To be honest, for them sides in Division 3, absolutely thrilling. Keighley Albion top, Myton, huge game for a promotion race. Saddleworth at Milford, Bentley at Beverley, and as I say, Millom v Dissington. It calls it a West Cumbrian battle. You know, but to be honest, Millom is more South Cumbria. It's nearer Barrow.
You know that area better than me.
I do. I know it even better after the past 12 months where I've been sort of doing stuff with BBC Radio Cumbria, which has been absolutely fantastic, by the way. You know, so and it's great to find out where these clubs are actually based and that. But yeah, what's your thoughts on that lot?
Well, that's what we like, isn't it? When you get down to that last match scenario, when you look at all those different, you know, sort of look at the scenarios that could happen or that are up there on the plate type of thing. You've got Lee East playing Featherstone Lions. If they win by 13 points or so, then they will go above Featherstone Lions. If I'm not wrong, something along those type of lines.
And they'd then be fifth, wouldn't they, within the division?
Yeah.
I mean, I think at the moment they're still in the playoff position.
Yeah,
Lee East.
But saying that, Dissington...
But if Dissington beat Millom, they're not quite done if Featherstone beat Lee East.
Exactly.
Are they?
Yeah. Because they'll then
overtake them, even though they've got
sixth.
a much worse point difference. And that would be remarkable for Dissington, wouldn't it? Because at times they felt like they've been nowhere near this season, and yet they've still got enough wins on the board to be level on points with the sixth place team.
And you know what, I'd really feel for Lee East if that happened. I would, because I know they've not had a stellar season, but they've always kept it, you know, just there and thereabouts. To be the last games of the season and just miss out would be dire in that sort of sense. But they're two closely matched teams. They're Lee East and Featherstone, so that'll be a good game.
So we're just about at the end of the show, aren't we? We've sort of gone through the league tables, the wheres and what fors, looks at the different permutations of what could happen. We've had Steve's thoughts. We've thought about polling players. We've talked about changing seasons. We've talked a little bit about League One and the Championship. Oh, it's all going on in Rugby League, just like it always is.
So, quick question, Parky, then, before we go. Speaking of, obviously, the Division 3 fixtures, as we said, come to a finality on the weekend. The other divisions have still got quite a few weeks left. So... when would any playoffs start to take place for Division 3? Do you think? Would there be like a couple of weeks sort of without games for those teams?
I'll tell you next week when it's been decided and we know what's happening, because I'll get a fixture list by then, won't I?
You certainly will. Yeah.
And Phil Hodgson will no doubt be sending emails over the weekend about what happens next, because he's got your question book. I'm sure he has, to be honest. Hope you have enjoyed the show. That's it for episode 33. Fantastic show. If there's anything that you've been thinking of, you want us to talk about, by all means, drop us a tweet. We're over on our X page, aren't we?
Yeah.
13 Pro-Am.
That's right. RL. Yeah.
We're out there on our other platforms as well, aren't we? This show goes out on a couple of different platforms, including our Mixler one, which we again thank our sponsors very kindly for that. And we like to thank all the clubs as well for just being as accessible as they have allowed us to be throughout the season. But we'll be back next week to do it all again, shall we, Steve?
We certainly will.
Every tackle, every try, every scrum. Green Cooling is proud to be part of the Community Rugby League family.